everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Translating Love. I'm Dani.
And I'm Woifi.
Hi, Woifi.
Hi, Stan.
Stan.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. You can call me Stan. How was your day?
Long.
Long? Did you work a lot today?
I'm nodding for everyone who can't see me.
Yeah, this is a podcast. People don't actually see you.
I have been working, I think, 50 or 60 hours every week for a couple of weeks now. And I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
Pretty much done with this year.
I mean, saying I'm done with the year is kind of pointless. Time keeps going. It's not like in 2021 it's going to be totally different all of a sudden.
It's not. I mean, yeah,
unfortunately.
it will be a little bit different. But no, it's time to get some vacation time and some like days where we won't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that.
So yeah, that's nice. How was your day?
My day was good. A little slower, actually, which is nice because my colleague has COVID, so she's not there, so it's a lot more work. And it's already a little stressful working where I work with the whole virus shit and all of that because you're constantly thinking about it. But with her gone, it's really even more so. So I'm also looking forward to having some time off for Christmas.
That's nice. We also got a nice little email today from Nicole. She probably knows who she is. But she likes our podcast and we really appreciate you emailing us.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole.
And if anyone else wants to contact us or just give us some feedback or anything, the website is translatinglovepodcast.com. And we also have an Instagram at translatinglovepodcast. And yeah.
You know what's funny? I can tell that you weren't really listening to what I was saying. The last thing that I was saying.
Yeah, it was.
Because when I finished talking, you said, "That's nice." And I was talking about things that are 100% not nice. It's how stressed I am.
You can't prove anything, Danielle.
That's nice.
You can't prove it.
Also, we got a nice email. The reason he wasn't listening is because he was trying to pull up that email so he could make sure he got the name right of the person who sent it. Nicole, thank you again.
Right.
But while he was doing that, he wasn't paying attention.
I was paying attention. It's a lot of stuff there. You told me this stuff already.
If you were, you wouldn't have said it's nice.
I have so
it's
much
not nice.
stuff going on in my head the last couple of weeks.
That's nice.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, man.
So, yeah.
Also, we should totally do a Christmas episode.
Yeah, we will do a Christmas. The nice thing is that Christmas is on a Friday this year, so our episode will come out on Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really? I thought Christmas is on a Thursday.
Isn't it on a... No, because you say Christmas is the 24th. Christmas is the 25th.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me just check that out.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Christmas is on a Thursday, and Friday is 25th.
Friday is Christmas. The 25th, Christmas
the 24th,
Eve is on a Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When I say Christmas, I mean 24th.
Austrians don't really do all that much. I think it's mostly Austrians.
No, it's Europe.
And Germans.
Europeans. Celebrate Christmas on the 24th. I don't think
all Europeans do. The thing is, in America, we celebrate on the 24th too, but that's Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day is Christmas. So when we're referring to Christmas, we're talking about the 25th. And if we refer to the 24th, we say Christmas Eve.
Danielle, we are not in America. And here, we call Christmas the 24th of
What do you call
December.
The 25th?
Christtag.
Christ Day.
Yeah.
So Christmas.
No, Christmas is on the 24th.
You don't have a word for Christmas Eve.
Weihnachtsabend. Or Weihnachtsnacht. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but besides that stuff, we also have...
So anyways, for our US listeners or people who are not crazy, there will be an episode out on Christmas Day.
Yeah, we will talk about stuff. It's not like we plan ahead.
Nope.
But this episode, we're talking about being in a different country or living in a different country where you don't speak the language.
Yep.
And yeah, how to navigate through that experience. And with us today is Danielle Steiner, who moved apparently across where you were from.
Originally from Maryland.
Okay, so she moved from Maryland
But I
to
didn't move
where?
from Maryland.
But from America to where?
To Austria.
Oh, to Austria. So she.
Yeah.
Oh, we are in Austria. That's funny.
Yeah,
So
is funny.
today with us is Danielle from America, originally from Maryland, and she moved to Austria, and she will tell us a little bit more about that. So let's give her a call. Bring, 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 bring. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Is this Danielle?
Who?
Is this Danielle? I'm calling. We said I'm calling. We're doing a podcast. Danielle, hello? Can you hear me? Okay, now. But
Stupid.
in all seriousness, we're talking about that today.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about moving across country, moving for love or something like that, and we talked a lot about moving and the decision and why not
And the compromise and the
all that
sacrifices
stuff, right.
and all of that.
But I think a good thing let's start with what is like the first thing you do when you move, or what is the first thing you do when you decide to move to a different country?
What do you mean the first thing that you do? I mean, the thing is, I don't know that I would have decided to move to a different country had I not done it for love, you know?
No, but once you decide to move, what is
Yeah.
the first thing you do in terms of preparation, or should do? I
Yeah.
mean, in hindsight now.
I mean, to
Captain
be
Hindsight.
totally honest, it was kind of a rash decision
Yeah.
in some ways. Not really, because we had talked about it a lot, but from the moment I
Was
decided to
pretty-
move, it was fast. But
That-
part of
I mean,
that
it was rash because it was a 6 to 8 month deal. And in that
Yeah.
time frame, we basically decided.
Sure.
So it was pretty rash.
Sure. But I think when it comes to people in long distance relationship, that's probably more often the case. That it happens more quickly like that.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I'm talking about in the sense that from the time I bought my ticket or decided like officially this is what's going to happen, by that time I had a month,
Yeah,
because I did it at Christmas time. I bought my plane ticket at Christmas time.
yeah.
And I moved here at the end of January, like the 25th, I think is the day I left.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I did it that quickly, I probably would have
Was your
wanted
lease
to.
was running
yeah,
out.
my lease was running out of my apartment, and at that point, I was living in Oregon, and my parents lived in Wisconsin.
In German, it's called oregano, just for you people.
But so had I not moved to Austria right away, I would have had to move back to Wisconsin, because I also was divorced at that point.
And you didn't want
It
to
was
move back with your mom in because she's kind of annoying. That's what you said,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, okay. No, I would have loved that, honestly. But I didn't want to have to move back in with my parents, because I just felt like I had done them enough.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It was enough for them too, probably. And I also just, that would have been a cross-country move again, just to move out of the country. It's a lot. That's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
So I just decided to do it. But I mean, for me, everything had to go super quickly. So I basically came home. I was at home in Wisconsin when I booked my ticket, and then I flew back to Oregon. And basically instantly started packing, getting rid of stuff. And I think that's probably the first thing I would have done anyways, even with more time, is deciding what comes with me and what doesn't. Because you can't, unless you're rich, you can't bring all your stuff with you. It doesn't work that way.
I think it's also a good thing to get rid of stuff that you don't really need. Because if you
Yeah,
settle
I
for a
did
long
that
time
anyways.
somewhere, you just clutter and you just basically fill that living space up with stuff you most likely don't really need.
The nice thing is I learned that from my mom fairly quickly. We purge things, is what we say. So at least once a year we go through like this purging phase where we just get rid of shit that we don't use.
That's what they do in America. There's one night where they shut down completely and you can kill people.
Yeah, sure.
You might have watched the movie. It's based on a real life event, The Purge.
Yeah. No, but that's what we do. So I've always been fairly good at that. And not always. Once I was out of my teen years, I got really good at that. So I didn't have that much, but there were still a lot of hard decisions to make on things that were really sentimental that I just couldn't bring with me. And that I quite honestly still think about today. Like, I really wish I had that. So that's sometimes.
Danielle, you know, all your toys and plush animals, you can't just bring everywhere.
I brought some.
She legitimately had one big luggage filled with that stuff.
That's just not true.
Danielle.
Wolfgang, it's just not true. I had 3 stuffed animals that I brought here. 2 of them I was given at birth, and I want my children to have them.
You know how big they are? They filled up a complete... They're massive.
Okay, we're getting off topic, and that's also not true.
Sorry.
But yeah, I would say that's the first thing that you kind of have to do is make those choices, which is not easy.
Which plush animal you get rid of. I will get rid of the bear. I will get rid of the penguin. I will get rid of the giraffe.
Done.
But in hindsight, I think we talked about it, there are a lot of things that we should have done, like in terms of visa, in terms of options for you to stay here, in terms of what would you do here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't. And we learned from that.
Well, that's not true because I actually did that, but I got so many different answers from so many people.
Yeah, we did.
I would not have booked my ticket unless I thought that I could get a visa here.
That's
and that's because that would be stupid. But I called so many different places and multiple places said, oh yeah, you can get a visa while you're there. But that turned out to not be true. You have to get it in your home country.
Maybe it is true for some things.
Maybe for a student visa, but maybe. Yeah. But even that, I don't think so.
But yeah, and then you came here, and what happened then?
I mean, that's not really on the topic. We're not really talking about the move. We're talking about...
No, I'm not talking about, but in terms of you came here and you adjusted or you tried to adjust, but what happened? What was a big problem for you when you moved?
I mean, the language was a massive problem, which is what we're talking about.
I mean, you spoke you were familiar with the language a little bit?
So in high school, not just in high school, in middle school, I started taking German. So in the US, for those of you who don't know, middle school is 3 grades, so 6, 7, Mittelschule,
we
6, 7, 8. Yeah, but it's different here. You have different years that you do it. You have like 2 years here.
No.
Yeah.
No, Mittelschule is 4 years.
Yeah, you have 4. We have 3.
Oh.
And high school is 4, and you guys have 3.
No, high school is 4.
Then you are just backwards.
We have 8 years of like primary school. We have 4 years of elementary school. So 12 years total school.
Yeah, we have 12 years total too, but I think we just classify the years differently.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. But
you don't count kindergarten to that, no. Kindergarten is an extra thing. Again.
Kindergarten is extra.
Okay, best.
But I started German in 7th grade. I took it in 7th and 8th grade. And then in high school, I took 3 years of German. And my last year, I didn't take it because I wanted to take another class that conflicted. But it was more, I call it Reisedeutsch. So like travel German.
Reisedeutsch.
That's what I call it.
Excuse me. Yes, I want a cafe haben. Yes, cafe.
No, but I mean anybody who's learned a language in the US at a normal, like a public high school or something, you basically learn how to order things at a restaurant or how to ask for directions or how to
that's how we started
go shopping or something.
That's how we started with English.
I think it's such a lame way to learn a language.
It is, totally.
I don't know. But I did have one fabulous teacher in German, Frau Tunstra.
Frau Tunstra. Sorry, I was a little too loud.
She was fabulous. And we're still friends. But yeah. I don't know why. So I had like a minor understanding of German. But the problem of coming to Austria was that Austrians have a dialect.
Was? Wir haben ja kein Dialekt, Alter. Was ist denn mit dir? Wo hörst denn du ein Dialekt? Havara. Yeah, that was
which,
like
thank God, now I understand. But it feels like a second language. And I mean, it is.
I mean, let me just
give an example.
Give an example. Okay, I say 2 things. I say, what do I say? I would like to have a coffee. I say in German and then say it in Austrian German. So, I would like to have a coffee. Ich möchte bitte einen Kaffee haben. Ich möchte gern bitte einen Kaffee haben. I mean, it was more Viennese. How would I say it?
How would you say it?
Ich möchte gern bitte einen Kaffee.
Ich möchte gern bitte einen Kaffee.
Yeah. I would like to have a coffee, please.
Yeah. And so they just, just small. There's small things too that you can say, like,
Hey, Alter.
nah, like counting even is different. Eins, zwei.
1, 2, 3.
Zwei.
1, 2, 3, 4,
is similar,
5,
though.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Acht. Nee.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
No, I mean,
6,
but
7.
there's these little differences and
Yeah.
then there's big differences, but it's in the whole dialect. The whole language is different.
I mean,
And so when I came here, I understood nothing.
yeah, it was hard.
Nothing.
And it was a lot of fun, I have to say. Because when we had like people over or family, and
I
we
was
could
the
have
monkey.
we just talked, and I was talking about her, and we made fun of her all the
yeah,
time, and
sure.
she just sat there smiling and nodding, and
That's
then
nice.
when we laughed, she laughed. No, but it was to a certain extent it was fun, but it was frustrating for her.
So frustrating. I mean, to the point where at least for me, and I'm sure other people have felt the same experience, where when you're in a situation like that, little things give you so much anxiety. So just me walking out of the house and walking 5 minutes to the bakery to get some bread was terrifying. I remember legit being terrified. Like, I never wanted to go grocery shopping. I never wanted to go, like, alone. Because I was like, what if I have to ask a question? What if I don't know what something means? How do I ask for this bread, without sounding stupid? Or like going to the post office or something was terrifying.
But it's so funny because once you really started to just don't give a shit, it changed drastically.
I mean, that took a long time.
But still,
I'm a perfectionist. Yeah. I think I will always be. And I still am, even when I don't give a shit. But at least when it comes to being so terrified about messing up a word, I'm not as terrified anymore. And I kind of don't give a shit about that anymore. Because German's a very difficult language.
yeah.
Like, just the word the, we say everything. The cup, the dog, the hat,
Der, die,
the
das.
stick. But in German, there's der, die, and das.
Mm-hmm.
They all mean the, but you use them depending on the word, it changes.
Yeah. No, it's a hard language.
It's really hard. So it's like I had to just decide, okay, I might never learn the articles for every single word that there is.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we are back.
We're back.
Where were we?
I mean, I just talked about how even little things like
yeah.
going to the post office or
yeah.
going to the bakery was
No, I remember.
crazy hard.
I remember the time it was also frustrating for me because you were constantly
Dependent.
Yeah, you were a little dependent, which is not like bad or anything, but you had capabilities that went over that you basically trusted yourself to do. So you were able to do certain things on your own already, but you didn't give yourself that much credit, or you didn't believe in yourself that much to that extent. So you asked me for a lot of things, which I gladly did, but at some point it got
Not
annoying.
always gladly.
Right, at some point it just got annoying, and I tried to encourage you more and throw you more into the cold water.
There were some times where I also think that's true, but I think there were also some times where you overestimated my capabilities, because things like making phone calls where there was German was very, very hard, because it helps me to be able to see the person, and now I can do phone calls. But really up until last year, I would say even phone calls were still horrifying. And when I started this new job this year, phone calls were horrifying, but that's also because it's medical field.
Right.
And
she's talking in general. It doesn't matter what language. She's scared of phone calls because she's scared of the technology. She doesn't understand it. So she's like, who's talking?
Yeah.
Where is that voice coming from? Yeah.
But I think there were some times where you almost like said, no, I'm not going to help you with that because you can do it. But to the extent where sometimes it was you were overestimating my ability to do something.
I mean, sure, totally. It was it was a mixture of being frustrated a little bit and also knowing that you can do more. And sure, at some point you were there and you couldn't really figure out what they want or how to express what you wanted in terms of like papers or filing things or whatever. And then I gladly helped you in whatever you wanted to do or whenever you needed it. But I think even in your first year when you did your au pair thing, you did a lot of stuff already, like taking the bus and handling daily life situations.
I remember the first time I took the bus, I was horrified.
I remember that day when you came home and you told me about it when the bus driver asked you things and you had no fucking clue.
I had no idea what they were asking me. I didn't expect the bus driver to ask me so many questions. I think they must have, I mean, I guess, I don't remember, but I guess they must have asked me, like, how old are you? Because they have a student discount, and I look younger,
and you didn't wear any pants that day. That was probably a lot of...
Yeah, that's true. Probably should have put pants on.
No, but I think that's a big thing that people don't really... I mean, sure, at first, people, she's from a different country, you have to give her some slack, blah, blah. But that's not something, especially when you move to a country where the language is so drastically different, that you have to not only completely learn it, but also in terms of talking and understanding, it's such a different level of language that it doesn't take just 2 years or 3 years to be like good or fluent. No, it takes 5 to 10 years or even longer. Yeah. I know people who are here for even longer than that, and they don't speak German that well.
Yeah.
It's a hard language, and you always have to learn. And I think it's a good thing for you was being in school. And
that was the biggest push for me. Yeah.
I think so too.
Because I never really wanted to take German classes. I did take some online because I had to for my visa. But I don't learn well that way.
Which is also not true, by the way. That's not true. You don't have to take classes for the visa.
Yeah,
you have to take a course for the visa.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Classes are a course.
No, the exam, I mean. You have to take the exam for the visa.
No, for the first one I had to prove that I was taking classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why I took the online ones, and that's in the test afterwards didn't count for the visa. That's why I had to take the test at the other place.
Okay. But
I had to take classes.
Oh, okay, got
you had to prove that you took a certain number, number of hours of classes.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my bad.
But I don't learn well that way with language because the way that they teach it is not typically like conversational. It's more like how I learned in school and stuff. And I feel like that's not a super effective way to learn.
Wie geht es dir? Mir geht es gut. Was isst du heute? Heute esse ich einen Apfel. Yeah, that's totally true.
But so when I made the choice to study, that was a big leap because at that point I didn't speak nearly as well as I speak now. That was 2 years ago already that I started. I didn't speak nearly as well as I did now. I understood quite a bit, but even then when I started classes, I think I understood about 70%, if that, of what I was learning. And I had to do the rest of it at home. And it was really hard. But because you're so immersed in the language, you have to learn. And because, I mean, I learned medical massage for those who don't know. So it was a lot of medical jargon in German and in Latin. 2 languages I did not learn.
Yeah, but at least the Latin is basically the same in English.
It depends, yeah. But it's very similar. At least with the muscles and with the bones and stuff. That was fairly easy for me. But the other stuff was really hard. Like pathology was so hard to learn. And physiology and stuff. That was all really, really hard in German. But yeah, I think that's the best way to do it is to be immersed in the language because you're forced then to learn.
I think that's a big common mistake that you come here and you're either in a position where you don't have to necessarily learn it because you maybe have a visa already or you are from the EU, from like a different country from Europe and you don't necessarily have to learn it. And then you
you have a job where you don't need it.
Right, or you have a job where you don't really need to talk that much. And so you always stumble like that. You always like you know it, you understand it, but you don't speak it super well.
Yeah.
And that's noticeable. Not that there's something wrong with that, but I think in your case, and I think that shows, is that when you embrace it and when you really try to do something that you're passionate about and maybe do something that you're not feeling super comfortable yet, just go with it. And I remember 2 or 3 weeks after you started, you already saw a big improvement in how much you understood there.
Yeah.
And a year after, I mean, your language skills improved so much. It was insane.
But what's always so fascinating to me is two things are very fascinating to me. One is that even now I notice a difference from right now to when I started my job in July. So just a couple of months. Because 6 months. Because every new experience, you learn different types of conversation.
Yeah,
and so now that I'm working in a doctor's office, I'm learning not necessarily medical jargon, but which I know fairly well anyways because of what I studied. But I'm learning like how to talk to patients. I'm learning how to schedule appointments. That if you think about it, every single thing that you do is a different language, even in one language. Yeah. So like in English, you have a different way of speaking when you're talking to a patient or talking on the phone, or it's all different. And so I find that super fascinating because from July, and when I started in July, picking up the phone was terrifying because I'm like, how do I schedule an appointment? How do I do this? I have no idea. And it wasn't just about the computer aspect, but also about understanding what the patient needs. But now it's like I understand so many things and I can talk to my patients about so many things that I couldn't talk about 6 months ago.
That also brings downsides to that because then you understand all the racist things that some people say.
Which I get often. It's great.
Or like, I don't know, senile stuff and shit like that. Yeah.
But I think because of my job, it's also a good field for me, not just because I'm doing what I love, but you talk to a lot of people. Yeah. And I learn a lot just by talking to my patients.
I remember the first couple of days when you went in, you had like a sign around your neck saying, "Don't speak to me, I'm from America."
No, the nice thing though, one thing that's really sweet is most of my patients are really, I mean, the best thing is when I get a compliment that, because there are some of my patients have no idea I'm not from here, which is really cool because that means
sorry,
like a donkey.
Yeah. Sorry.
But so when some of them will find out maybe I said something wrong or they heard it from my colleague or something, and then they come back to me and they're like, I never would have guessed that you're not from here. And that's like the best compliment I can get.
That's why I got you the fucking Trump hat. You should wear it.
No. But another really nice thing is that the patients who do realize it right away, because sometimes people will ask me a question that I'm just like, fuck, how do I answer that in German? And then I stumble a lot over my words. They don't come out quite right. And then it's obvious. But then if they ask me like, oh, where are you from? And then I tell them, it becomes this lovely topic of conversation then where it's like they ask me why I came here. And then it often leads to the story of how you and I met. And
are you plugging a podcast when you tell that story?
No, because nobody understands in Austria.
I don't care. Maybe there's someone who is like coming home like to their husband or to their grandchildren like, yeah, this lady talked from a podcast. Why can't I listen to the show?
My patients do not know what podcasts are. They are between...
It's like radio, Danielle.
They're between 60 and 90 years old.
Danielle, you have to explain it to Danielle. How should we gather more people to listen to podcasts if you don't talk about it?
Yeah. I'm not talking about it to 80-year-olds.
I always do that. I stand at the cash register and the woman at the cash register is like 2050 and I'm like, I have a podcast. Listen to it. She's like, okay.
2050?
Yeah, it's still 20 euros 50 cents.
Oh, you're talking about, she said how much the thing is going to cost her. But you said she was 2050. I'm like, what does that mean?
No, she wants 20 euros 50 cents.
But yeah. Man. So I don't know where else to go with that question. or whatever we were talking about.
I think also a big thing is in terms of going to a country where you don't speak your language, their language or that language, is like being social, like a social life.
So hard.
I mean, sure, most of my friends speak English very well, or pretty well, as I would say.
Yeah.
And which is nice, but at the same time, there are still some people who don't, especially family and other friends maybe, and so it's really hard to connect on a certain level with those people, and also to be outgoing and
Yeah, well, that's the next point I wanted to get to, was that the type of personality that I am is I'm a very outgoing person. I've always been super outgoing. I'm never afraid to like introduce myself to somebody. I'm never afraid to like hang out with new people. It's just like it's something I really enjoy. And something I also really enjoyed was when I'm dating somebody, I like to meet their family and I like to talk to them. I like to get to know them. But when I moved here, it's all of a sudden I'm terrified of that because I really barely spoke the language when I came here. And to add on top of it that his family doesn't really speak English,
no,
like at all, made it also really hard, which of course it's not like I was expecting them to. But
one of the funniest things ever was my dad drunk talking to your mom.
Wait, but we get to that story because I want to finish my thought.
Man.
But that's funny. But the one of the hardest things for me when I moved here, and actually one of the things that made me feel the most lonely, was I couldn't connect, or I felt like I couldn't connect with your family because I couldn't speak their language, and therefore I couldn't portray my actual personality. My personality didn't come through in German because I couldn't be who I was.
That's
in
why
German.
everyone was so shocked when I wanted to marry you.
Nice.
Everyone was like, "You want to marry that girl? She doesn't even talk.
She's so shy.
Nobody knows her name."
No, but I do think people thought that I was really shy, which I'm not. I'm really not. And
You're a little shy.
no, I'm not.
You're a little shy.
I'm not.
Danielle,
The thing is, I'm not. It's
every time-
because of German and because I didn't speak the language that it comes off that way. Because how should I talk to you if I can't talk to you?
It's true. I'm shy.
I don't think you're shy.
I'm a little shy.
I don't think so.
Every time the mailman rings the doorbell and I open and he asks me something, I'm like,
Sounds like you have a crush on the mailman.
no, I don't. I'm just shy. I don't know how to talk to them.
But I think that's also something that a lot of people relate to when they move for love and they don't speak the same language, because you really feel like you lose a part of yourself, quite honestly. I felt like I kind of lost who I was, and I was trying to like find this new version of myself. Like, who am I in German? You know, like I'm a different person.
Darlene.
His grandmother, bless her heart, she has never, although the other day she said Danielle, and that was really nice. So here I'm called Danielle because it's easier to say than Danielle. It's just, it flows better for Austrian people. But his grandmother has never been able to say my name, or just forgets, or just, you know, whatever it is. And so she calls me Darlene.
Darlene.
And I think it's the most endearing
So sweet.
thing ever. So I never not once have I corrected her.
I mean, she asked me like, "Is that right?" And I told her multiple times, "No, it's not." but she keeps falling back to that. But it's sweet.
It's sweet. It's really endearing. It's from love. Like she's really trying, and it's adorable. But yeah, I don't know where we were going.
That was a hard time though. But the fun story. So
the fun story.
Your mom and her boyfriend, her boy toy,
Ew, don't say that.
came over came over for our wedding, and I remember the first night we had like this dinner with Biani and Andy, my what do you call
Your best man.
my best man, and like the
Also,
closer family,
And also Libby and Leslie were here.
oh yeah, they were
sitting
there
at the
too.
table
Yeah,
too.
right. So we had like all those people eat, and we cooked something, and we just had like a lovely dinner, and I remember my dad was just sitting there saying almost nothing the whole night.
I mean, he was essentially me when I came here, like, because he was all of a sudden put in a situation where he doesn't understand.
My sister is not the best in English, but she was talking very well, and my mom really tried to, and he was just sitting there not saying anything the whole night. And I felt bad because I told him multiple times, hey, if you want to participate or if you want to say something, then ask me, I can translate it. Or if you don't understand something, just I can translate it for you.
Yeah, but I get why he didn't do that, because if a bunch of people are talking at a table, you're not going to ask, what did they just say? What did they just say?
I totally get it too. I totally get it. But so that was a little sad. But then the next day at the wedding or at the reception, obviously we had some drinks, and then my dad got all not wasted, but he was fairly drunk. And at some point, your mom and Matt, her boy toy, were about to leave.
Boyfriend.
They were about to leave, and I think my dad was just telling them something. And it was so funny because he was just talking nonsense.
He was trying really hard to talk to them in English.
And we were also talking to your dad on the phone at the same time, and I think he talked to your dad too, right?
Maybe.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. It was so funny watching him trying to
adorable.
Articulate what he wanted to say. It's so funny.
Yeah, but you shouldn't make fun of him because he was trying. He was putting forth an effort.
I'm just laughing at him.
He put forth an effort to communicate with them, and I think that's very sweet.
That's true. It is true.
And he had some liquid courage to do so.
Yeah, that's true. Which he didn't have the other night before that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a joint effort if you move somewhere. Doesn't matter where, when you don't speak the language fairly well or not at all. I think it's a joint effort to not only the family and the friends and everyone else to make the person feel more welcome and help them in a way, but also to encourage them to speak more German, or whatever the language might be, to be more, I don't know. The thing is, everyone makes mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes talking English, and even in German, I still make mistakes, especially in writing. I make a lot of mistakes. But you just have to be not self-conscious about it. You just have to be...
Easier said than done.
Right. Yeah, it is easy.
No.
It is easier said than done. That's true. But I think
especially
that's
if you're somewhere like here, because in Austria is such a small country. And unless you're in a big city, the odds of finding someone who speaks German, like in a market or in a grocery store or in a bakery or something, are so. That's what I said.
No, you said German.
Really?
Yeah, the odds of finding someone who speaks German.
I thought I said English.
No.
The odds of someone speaking English is so slim.
Very slim, yeah. Even though it's becoming more, I think.
It's becoming more, but like in restaurants and stuff, it's becoming more. But places like that you just go every day, like the bakery or the grocery store or something, that's just not a thing you're going to find here. Unless you're like in Vienna or maybe in Salzburg, maybe. But it's really... That makes it really difficult. But at the same time, I think that was the best thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because otherwise I would have gotten too comfortable being able to, I know I can speak English there a little bit if I go. Yeah. So I think it's also a good thing. But my recommendation to anybody in the same situation is to find a way to immerse yourself as much as possible. As uncomfortable as it may be, let me tell you, the first half I studied for 6 months pretty like intensively and like every single day, 9 hours a day. And the first half of that was extremely nerve-wracking. And every time I started a new course within that study period, because we had like different courses at different times. You're talking every time.
Just to clarify, she's talking about her medical massage therapy course.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But so you would have like 2 weeks of one class, and then the next class you wouldn't start anatomy until you had that class, and then you wouldn't start pathology, blah, blah, blah. And it goes into all of that. So literally every time I started a new course within it, I was terrified because I'm like, okay, what am I not going to understand this time? What if the teacher has a dialect? What if blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
But I think that you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable in order to really learn.
You're right. It's also fine to not understand everything at the beginning. Yeah. I remember when I started learning English for real, I watched a lot of series on in English or in movies, and I didn't understand half of it. And over time, it became more and more and more. And I'm not talking about talking English, but I'm just understanding it, hearing it and understanding it. And even after 4 years or so, there was still a lot of like dialect was a big problem, and just some words that are not like in the daily usage that I did not understand, but in the whole context of things, I was able to do so, and that just became more and more and more.
Yeah.
And over time, I'm basically understanding everything. I think there is a few words that I don't know.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I think, too, is that, I mean, the more you learn, the more you also will understand, even if you don't know a word that's being said.
That's
if
what
you
I mean.
understand the context
context,
around
yeah,
it, then
right.
you're like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Being able to then repeat that word is then hard because that doesn't happen right away.
Yeah.
But what I find so funny sometimes is that what I find really funny is that I will sometimes stumble on a word that theoretically is super simple, but I just realize, oh, I've never used that word in German, or I rarely use that word in German. Or it's something so simple as like calling somebody smart. I was like, the other day I was thinking about that and I'm like, fuck, I don't even know how to say smart.
Klug, intelligent.
Yeah, klug, I knew, but I was like, I feel like that's not the Austrian way to say smart.
Gescheit.
Gescheit. And so I ended up using shed, and I was like, oh, I hope that's right. And it was. But learning a language is a weird thing.
It is.
But the only thing I wanted to say before we ended is I forgot to say the second thing. Earlier I said that there are two things that I find super fascinating about learning a language. The second thing is when you start dreaming in that language, which has happened to me once in a while throughout the years.
I can't distinct anymore if I'm dreaming in German or
really?
English now.
I'm getting to that point where I don't distinct anymore.
It's became so normal that I remember the first times I dreamt in English, but it's became so normal to me talking both languages that I don't distinct. It's weird. I couldn't tell you which language I dreamed of in.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point, which also kind of scares me. But
it's kind of cool, though.
I mean, it's cool, but it's weird. But I remember, like, at the start, once in a while it would happen, like, once in a blue moon, and that was weird. But I'm realizing more and more lately that a lot of my dreams
Did
are
you have, like, super
completely in
German dreams? Like Lederhosen and beer and stuff like that?
No.
Oh. So just the language.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the really cool thing is sometimes in my dreams, I'm having conversations in German where in like actual life, I wouldn't really know those words, but my brain knows them because I've heard them.
Oh, that's weird.
And so in my dream, I'm talking this German in a way where I'm like, I've never used that word before, but I know it's right because I've heard it. And so it's like that weird thing, the way that your brain saves things.
That's weird.
It's so cool though.
Let's end it. It's been too long. I wanted to do like a short episode, but this one is like just rambling.
It's not rambling. I just think there's more to say about it than I expected.
That's true.
But I think it's an interesting topic.
It is. And please share the podcast. We always ask people to do that.
We do. And I just want to say, if anyone's out there who is currently living in a country where you don't speak the language, or is planning on moving somewhere where you don't speak the language, don't get discouraged.
Nah.
You will get discouraged. Everybody does. But try not to let it bring you down too much, and try not to be such a perfectionist, because that's what I did. And the first 2 years, that made it very difficult for me.
It's part of the process and learning.
It's part of it. And also as an adult, it's not easy to learn a new language.
Right.
So give yourself a little slack. Take classes if that's good for you. If it's not, do something that forces you to learn it.
And listen to our podcast and share it. Because that's what all good people do.
If you're trying to learn English, you can just listen to our podcast.
Right. You can listen to someone who speaks it very well and someone who doesn't really speak it very well. So that's nice. But other than that, we're done with this episode. Please leave a subscription, a sub, or a follow. Rate the podcast on Apple Podcast. And
you can't really leave a subscription or a follow.
Doesn't matter. And please share the podcast. That helps us a lot. And we are back with another episode next week.
Yep. See you then. Goodbye. Wait, next week is Christmas, isn't it? Yeah, we'll see you on Christmas then.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.